What's up, guys? It's Benny. One of the many joys of this industry is getting to meet and get to personally know some of your childhood heroes, and Rudy Giuliani was that for me growing up in sort of a post 9/11 world. And whatever you think about September 11th, there's plenty to talk about on that subject. But listen, Rudy Giuliani did a truly honorable job as America's mayor during that time period, and certainly is somebody who you just got to look up to. Listen, he's probably the last Republican that will ever be mayor of New York. It's still a massive testament to who he is and what he was able to accomplish in his political career. And then he went on to defend President Trump when virtually nobody else would. After the 2020 election, he's been an absolute and total rock solid supporter for the president. And he's somebody who was obviously attacked as viciously as Donald Trump was. Of course, Fannie Will's got a mugshot of him too, and so on and so forth. And so they've attacked, maligned him, and you should judge a man by his enemies. Rudy certainly has the right enemies. And ladies and gentlemen, he's become a friend of the show. He regularly appears on our program, and that is why we were horrified when we learned of this. Rudy Giuliani seriously injured in a car crash in New Hampshire with life-threatening injuries. He's currently in intensive care right now. It's an awful story. Let's read. Former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani was seriously injured in a car crash in New Hampshire on Saturday night. Giuliani fractured his vertebrae and had multiple lacerations and contusions after his rental car was hit from behind, according to a spokesperson. The 81-year-old former mayor had injuries on his left arm and lower leg. Rudy Giuliani was flagged down by a woman who was a victim of domestic violence prior to the accident. It's very strange. It's a very odd story, the whole thing. The former prosecutor had called 911 for the woman and waited for officers to arrive on the scene. He rendered assistance and contacted 911, remaining on the scene until responding to the officers to ensure her safety. All right. So, as the story goes right now, he finds a woman who was in need on the side of the road, and then his car got hit from behind. Giuliani pulled out onto the highway. He was hit at high speed by another vehicle. Now, Giuliani is 81. Should he be driving by himself? I assume that he's driving here. His spokesperson says Giuliani was transferred to a nearby trauma center and is recovering from his injuries. Mayor Giuliani is in great spirits after the incident. He is alert and conscious. The medical team was pleased with his progress. Rudy Giuliani, obviously, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's the best way to say this. Like, he's just 81. You know, at 81, you're considerably more fragile in life. Giuliani will remain in the Manchester area hospital for a few more days. His spokesman noted that he will wear a brace for the broken vertebrae following his release. The mayor is eager to return to work and looks forward to getting back to business. The spokesperson added that he and his family are grateful for the outpouring of prayers and support, and that everybody who respects their privacy and focuses on recovery. Giuliani's political career spans decades in New York City, and he gained fame in the 1980s as a federal prosecutor, putting one of the mafia bosses in jail for RICO charges. Okay, on the evening of August 30th, 2025, in New Hampshire, Mayor Giuliani was involved in a motor vehicle accident. Prior to the incident, he was flagged down by a woman who was a victim of domestic violence. Mayor Giuliani immediately rendered assistance and contacted 911. He remained on the scene until responding to the officers arrived to ensure her safety. Following this, while traveling on the highway, Mayor Giuliani's vehicle was struck from behind at high speed, transported to nearby trauma centers. Fractured thoracic vertebrae, multiple lacerations, contusions, injuries in his left arm and lower leg. His business partner and medical provider were promptly contacted and arrived at the hospital to oversee care. At this time, there is no further updates available. This is the only statement authorized by Mayor Giuliani. Okay. So prayers up for Rudy. Obviously, Giuliani seriously injured in car crash. Rudy Giuliani, this is the spokesperson right here. He sustained injuries, but is in good spirits and recovering tremendously. And then he's posting here, thank you, to this individual who is a board-certified nurse practitioner overseeing the care of America's mayor. Nurse practitioners do everything the doctor does except for surgery. So here you can see Rudy Giuliani. We asked for prayers. A lot of people like responding and saying that obviously their prayers up for Rudy, best mayor in American history. Hey, Jen Psaki, we're sending prayers to Rudy Giuliani. Will you join us, Jen Psaki? She said she doesn't want to pray for the victims of horrible school shooting. Jen Psaki, an absolute monster. Prayers up for Rudy Giuliani. He was injured in a car accident. Just hearing the news, this great man is in our prayers. Carrie Lake saying prayers for Rudy, along with Laura Loomer. I'm at the Staten Island Richmond Fair, and I just heard about Rudy Giuliani's injuries. This is the Republican running for mayor of New York. On Staten Island, Rudy is a beloved figure. Few of us paused to say a prayer for a swift and pain-free recovery. We're pulling for you, Mr. Mayor. It's very interesting. Okay. Multiple lacerations, injury, left arm and lower leg. This is not believed to be a targeted attack. Okay. Anything about the driver? Like, who is driving exactly? Rudy Giuliani is a hero. Praying he makes a full recovery. God, please heal Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor, and hero to millions. His injuries, stopping to render aid. A woman who is a victim to domestic violence. Rudy never stops caring about people. He's a consummate fighter. God heal Rudy. We need him to battle in the Republic. Charlie Kirk, prayers up for America's mayor. He makes full recovery from his fractured vertebrae. Sounds like an awful car accident. Giuliani stopped to help someone on the side of the road. He's reportedly in good spirits in the hospital. So hopefully it's just like an honest mistake, maybe. He's pulling out and got hit. Here's his son, who works in the Trump administration, executive director, White House Task Force for the World Cup. As a son, I can tell you it's an honor to have dad that I can call the toughest SOB I've ever seen. There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Rudy Giuliani, last appearance on our show, made quite a bit of news. He's just an honest and decent dude. I got to tell you, man, he's just like a extremely solid guy. So here we go. I mean, I guess there's no evidence that it was a targeted attack. I really hope that it wasn't. It's obviously where my brain went instantly, but here we go. Shout out and prayers to America's mayor.
Mr. Mayor, we have a very interesting post here from Zorhan Mandami. The last one I'll show you, but it's one where he says that New York City, he explicitly says New York City needs a communist mayor. He says, listen, what kind of a mayor does New York City need? We need a communist one. Here it is. My question to you is this. And since they're just out with this, since he's just being explicit about it and rubbing it in our faces, right? This is the post. These are his words. When somebody tells you who they are, believe them. Do you think, I mean, you've alluded to this, but do you think that this is an operation in order to bring some type of horrible tragedy visited upon the city of New York, to use it as like a beacon, that New York is a beacon of American empire and strength, and to to either plunder it into abject crime, misery, decay, and destruction, or to lay the groundwork for another horrible terrorist attack on the city?
Well, don't I have to say, I'm going to put myself in the position of when I was mayor, where I had to make choices for the protection of the city. First thing you have to do, and, to the extent that I've ever lectured mayors on how to be mayor, I would say always have to take the worst possible scenario. Because if it isn't correct, then you haven't wasted any time, and you probably improved your efforts to guide things. The guy is inviting an invitation for that. In other words, I don't know how serious that is, but I do know if that is serious, that's treason. If it's serious. And it means the overthrow of the American government. If you've read Marx, if he is halfway
this statement is treason, Mr. Mayor. Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to nail down. This statement is treasonous.
This statement is treason if it's a serious statement from a well-educated man. And those two things have to be investigated. Was he throwing this out as political rhetoric, or is there something behind this? Here's what it does at a minimum. It invites the necessity for an investigation, not to interfere in the election or anything else, but to protect your city. Those are the things that are said by somebody who's going to attack your city. And those are the things that are said by people who just spout off and say stupid things.